Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, YouTube. My name is Josh, and I am the Degenerate Duelist. Today, I'm coming at you with a nice, amazing, powerful deck, and I haven't seen any other versions of it on YouTube, so this may be the first one to hit YouTube right now, but this is Numeron, Dogmatika, Eldlich. Yeah, we found a perfect way to combine them while still keeping consistency at 41 cards. So without further ado, let's get right into the deck profile. Shouts out to Team Degenerate and our vendors from Frankincense, Johnny and Jake. We're going to start out with 3 copies of Numeron Wall. This card lets us search out Numeron Network directly from our deck to the field, or from our hand if you already happen to have it in hand. So that's a cute little interaction. Also, this card is a battle fader. If you take any type of battle damage, you can special summon him from the hand, and immediately after that, end the battle phase. So that's pretty good. Next, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Eldlich the Golden Lord. He's our favorite golden boy. He's our big beat stick. You gotta love him. Some people hate him, but that's because we love him. His effect is that you can send himself and 1 spell or trap from your hand to the graveyard. Then you can target 1 card on the field and you can send it to graveyard. Now that's beautiful because it lets you dodge cards that can't be destroyed by battle or card effect. You just send that sucker. Let him know how you feeling. Also, when he's in the graveyard, you can send any spell or trap that you have on the field. And yes, this does include Numeron Network if it's already a dead card. So that way you can add him from your graveyard to your hand. Then you can special summon any zombie. So if you play any additional zombie boys, you can either summon that or you can summon the golden boy himself. Then it gains 1,000 attack and defense and cannot be destroyed by card effects until the end of your opponent's next turn. So that's a pretty cute interaction. We love that. It helps us keep board presence. Plus, you gotta have the golden boy to activate the golden land traps. Next, we're gonna be playing 2 copies of Eldlich, the Knighted. This card is also a hand trap if you control another Dogmatika card on the field. But during the main phase, if a monster special summon from the extra deck is on the field, you can just special summon it whether you want to use this effect or not. So that way you can be able to get more bodies on field. So it's pretty nice. And his negate is a non-target negate. So when Dragoons comes out, this card is going to be seeing a lot more play. Maybe at 3, but I like the ratio at 2. Then we're going to be playing 1 Maximus and 1 Dogmatika Ecclesia, the Virtuous. Maximus, he's very debatable right now because of the fact that your opponent gets to choose what they want to send. So when we discuss our extra deck, we'll be discussing why he's debatable right now. But his effect is that you can banish 1 Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link monster from your graveyard. Then you can special summon this card from your hand. Then during your main phase, you can activate his effect. You can send 2 monsters with different names from your extra deck to the graveyard. And also, after you resolve any of the Dogmatika effects, they lock you out of your extra deck. So once you do that, you're locked out. You cannot special summon from your extra deck for the rest of this turn. Now, usually when you send 2 cards, you usually send 2 cards that are going to help you plus or help you clear board. So your opponent is probably going to be thinking the exact same thing if they weren't already prepared for Dogmatika. Now, Ecclesia, her effect is she cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster special summon from the extra deck. Also, you can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If a monster special summon from the extra deck is on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. And if she's normal or special summoned, you can add 1 Dogmatika card from your deck to your hand. So that's either the traps or that's either any of the Dogmatika monsters. Usually you want to either net Maximus or Eldlich. But that's going to conclude our Dogmatika and Numeron and Eldlich monsters. Then moving on into our hand traps, we're going to be playing 2 Ash and 2 Valor. Now the reason why we play them obviously is to help stun our opponents, but if we happen to draw into our Dogmatika cards and let's say 1 or 2 of these, we can't make our Dogmatika board without having cards in our extra deck in the graveyard, so that way we can banish for Maximus. So what we do is we can normal summon this, then we can go on with our plays. But that's just, it's very rare that you have to do that because you're also playing Numeron and Eldlich, so more likely you're going to have stuff that you'll be able to do. Then, moving on to our spells, we'll play 3 copies of Numeron Network. This card says that during the main phase, you can send 1 Numeron normal spell from your deck to the graveyard that meets their activation conditions, and that's semicolon, so can't be ashed. But it can be Ghost Ogred, so that's why you always have to be very prepared for that. So this card lets you copy that card's effect. It basically lets you turbo out Calling, and then it has an effect that is a static effect that doesn't activate when your XYZ Numeron monsters would activate their effects. They no longer have to detach materials as cost. Then we play 2 copies of Numeron Calling. This card says that if Numeron Network is in your field zone and you control no monsters, you can special summon up to 4 Numeron Gate XYZ monsters with different names from your extra deck, but banish them during the end phase. Also, you can only normal or special summon once for the rest of this turn. So that helps us set up our OTK or our Zexal play. Then we play 3 copies of Cursed Eldlin. This card, everybody, you have to make sure that you pay attention when you use this card, because when you activate this card and it's still on field, you cannot declare an attack except with your zombie monsters. So make sure you clear this card before you try to punch with anything else, because it will be an illegal move. So always pay attention to that. This card has 2 effects that you can use each once per turn. The first one is you pay 800 life points and you can add Eldlich, 1 Eldlich monster or 1 Golden Land spell or trap from your deck to your hand. The second is if this card is sent from the field, from the spell or trap zone to the graveyard, you can send 1 Eldlich monster or 1 Golden Land spell or trap to the graveyard. So usually you either want to add Golden Lord, then send Golden Lord with something, so that way you can send this from your field to the graveyard, add Golden Boy, and special summon him, and then you get the effect of this to dump, like, say, Waquero or Conquistador, so that way on end phase you can banish it and plus off of that. Then we play 1 copy of Eldlich of White Destiny. This card says that you can special summon 1 zombie from your hand or graveyard, but if you control no Eldlich monsters, it has to be an Eldlich monster. Also, this card has the effect that during your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard and set 1 Golden Land spell or trap from your deck to the field. So that's beautiful. Then we play 3 copies of Nadir Servant. This card is our 1-card combo starter for the Dogmatika board. This card says that you can send 1 monster from your extra deck to the graveyard, then add 1 Dogmatika monster or 1 Fallen of Albaz from your deck to the graveyard. Oh, it lets you send it from your extra deck to the graveyard, then you can add the Dogmatika monster that has less than or equal attack to that monster to your hand. Sorry, I got a little tongue-tied. Next, we play 3 copies of Call by the Grave. Now, if you're playing a very big combo deck, you cannot run a combo deck without having these cards in it. Helps you prevent being hand trapped, except for Gamma and Imperm, but a lot of decks play those now, so it's okay if you get hit with that. Just be prepared to play past it, if you can. Then, we play 1 for 1. I love that card. Very beautiful. Lets you send 1 monster from your hand to the graveyard, special summon 1 level 1 monster from your deck, so that's usually going to be your Numeron wall, so that way you can make network. Then, moving on to our traps, we play 3 Eldlich of Scarlet Sanguine. This card is beautiful. This card is pretty. There's rockin' zombies discoing in the back. This card says that you can special summon 1 zombie monster from your deck, but if you control no Eldlich monsters, it has to be an Eldlich monster. Also, for the rest of this turn, you cannot special summon any more monsters except zombies. Also, you can banish this card from your graveyard to directly set from your deck to the field one Eldlich or one Golden Land spell or trap from your deck. So, usually your best targets for that would be Conquistador of the Golden Land, which we play 3 of. This card says that you can special summon it as a normal monster. It's a zombie level 5 light monster. So, if you want to play Constellar Pleiades, this is a good card that you can overlay it with its buddy, Waketo, which we played 2 of. Waketo and Conquistador are still both considered traps when they're on field. Also, they have neat little niche effects that you can use if Golden Lord is on the field that happens on resolution. So that means your opponent won't be able to respond to them unless they respond to the activation of them when they're still trap cards. So Waketo, when he's summoned as a monster, he gets 1800 attack and 1500 defense. Conquistador gets 500 attack and 1800 defense. Now, they're both level 5 light monsters, so you can use both of these or the same copy of both of them to make your Constellar Pleiades if you decide to play that. That's totally at your discretion, but their effects that happen on resolution is that when Conquistador hits the field on resolution, he can pop any monster on the field. Waketo has an effect that when he's summoned on resolution, he can DD Crow any monster from the graveyard, from either graveyard. So that's yours or your opponent's graveyard. So he can banish any monster from either graveyard. Now, the effects only happen provided that you have Golden Lord on the field. Then we play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. This is one of my favorite hand traps. I highly recommend that if you don't have it, you go out and get it. It's such an amazing card. You can target one face-up monster your opponent controls, negate its effects until the end of this turn. Then, if this card was set before its activation and is on the field at resolution, for the rest of this turn, all other spell and trap effects in this card's column are negated. If you control no cards, you can activate this card from hand. So, that's a very beautiful hand trap, and it gives you an extra boost if you happen to have set it. So, helps you extend more to be able to tell your opponent no. Then, our last card in our main deck is Shaddoll Schism. This card is how we make our Winda or Construct if we need it. During the main phase, you can fusion summon one Shaddoll fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing fusion materials listed on it from your field or graveyard, but it cannot attack directly. Then, you can send to the graveyard one monster your opponent controls with the same attribute as that fusion summon monster. So if you're summoning Construct, you can send one light monster. If you summon Winda, you can send a dark. So it's a nice little interaction. That's going to conclude the main deck again, which is 41 cards. Then moving on to our extra deck, we are going to be playing one copy of Titaniclad, the Ash Dragon. This card, we don't really summon him. Actually, you don't summon him because you have no way to summon him. The only effect we use from him is if he's sent to graveyard, you can special summon one Fallen Albaz or one Dogmatika monster from your deck, or you can add it to your hand. So you can either special summon your Maximus, your Ecclesia, your Fleur de Lis, or you can add either one of those cards to your hand. So that's a beautiful card. Then we play our Shaddoll package, one Construct, one App Cologne, and one Winda. Winda says that each player can only special summon once per turn after she's hit the field. She cannot be destroyed by card effects. Construct, when Construct punches any monster, or any monster punches Construct, if it's special summoned, she gets to just blow it up at when it punches her. She has 2,800 attack, 2,500 defense, so she's a good little body to have on the board. Also, when this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target one Shaddoll spell or trap in your graveyard and add it to hand. Which brings us to App Cologne. We don't usually ever summon this card, but you can if you happen to send Winda and Construct to the graveyard. Then you can summon her by using Schism if you happen to top deck it, but if you don't top deck it, this card lets you search it. It says if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add one Shaddoll card from your deck or graveyard to your hand and then discard one card. Also, if this card happens to have been fusion summoned, you can target one card on the field and negate its effects, and that's a permanent negate. So, keep that in mind. It's a really good card. Then, onto our links, we play the 1 Salamangreat Almirage and the 1 Secure Gardna. These cards are how you make your Dogmatika plays if you happen to have a Ash Blossom or Effect Veiler along with your Dogmatika cards. So that way you can still be able to make a board. So you would link off one of your Ash Blossoms or your Effect Veilers into Salamangreat Almirage. Then you would link Almirage away for Secure Gardna. That way you can banish the Almirage to start your plays. Then, onto our Numeron engine, we're going to be playing the 1 number C1 Chaos Gate Sunya. This card says that when it's been XYZ summoned, you can banish all other monsters on the field. Then, this card on your next standby phase will be able to special summon himself and deal burn damage to your opponent equal to the amount of banished XYZ monsters that you currently have when this card was special summoned. So, we use that. Also, we use number S0 Utopic Zexal. This card just tells your opponent, no, you can't play Yu-Gi-Oh! So, when you use Numeron Calling, you summon 3 of your Numeron Gate monsters, then you overlay them for Zexal, then you pass turn after setting everything else that you have, because remember, Numeron Network is also a 1-card combo. Then you have 4 other cards that you can do stuff with and play to your heart's content with. This card says that when it's XYZ summoned, your opponent can't activate any cards or effects for the rest of that turn, and then during your opponent's turn, you can detach a material, and then your opponent can't activate cards or effects for the rest of this turn. Now, granted, they do get to respond to this card's activation, so if they have, say, Gamma, or if they have Effect Veiler, if they have Imperm, or even if they have XYZ Encore, which is a card that you can't even respond to. So, these are cards that you always have to be aware of, but always make sure that you're wary of them. But it's still a great card to play regardless. Then, moving on to our Numeron package, the rest of it, we play 2 copies of Numeron Gate Ekam. We play 1 copy of Div. We play 1 copy of Trini. And 1 copy of Katviri. Now, all of your 1 through 4 Numeron Gate monsters have the exact same effect, so I'll just read one of them to you, and just know it applies to all of the Numeron Gate monsters for the exception of Sunya. Cannot be destroyed by battle. At the end of the damage step, if this card battled an opponent's monster, you can detach 1 material, but if you have Numeron Network on field, you can just disregard that text. And then you can double the attack of all Numeron XYZ monsters you currently control until the end of this turn. Oh no, I'm sorry, it's just Numeron monsters. So technically if you have Wall on the field, Wall will get his attack doubled. So always remember that. But this card also keeps going. It'll keep doubling each time one of them attacks until the very last one has 8,000 attack, which is usually game by then. Then, for the rest of our XYZ monsters and our fusion monsters, this is why Maximus is really debatable. Because of the fact that your opponent can choose which 2 that they can send from the extra deck, normally they'll either send Entis and Cyber Dragon Nova. Cyber Dragon Nova has the effect that if this card is in your possession is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, you can special summon 1 machine fusion monster from your extra deck, which will be invoked Makaba. So, usually if you make Maximus and your opponent's prepared for the Dogmatika play, they'll send Entis and then they'll send Makaba, and then they'll try to chain block Makaba, or they'll try to chain block Nova, I'm sorry, so that way they can summon Makaba. And then they'll use Entis to pop the Maximus or to pop something else that you currently have on field, depending on what it is. Probably try to pop your Makaba to force you to negate the Makaba. Or to force you to negate the Entis. So, that's going to conclude our main deck and extra deck. I hope you guys liked the video. I still haven't seen anybody else post any other videos on YouTube, but that may change in the future. I really think this deck is pretty good. It holds its own, and depending on how you draw, you usually always have something to do, whether it's the Dogmatika plays, making Zexal, or setting up a Numeron play with Eldlich, or just an Eldlich Dogmatika board. There's so many different ratios that you can do, and so many different end boards that you can end on with this. Either a combination of all three, or a combination of two different ones. However you choose to play it, it's an amazing deck, and I really like it. And that's going to conclude our video today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you liked it, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know in the comment section if there's any other videos or any questions you have about the deck. I'm more than happy to answer any of that. I usually try to respond to everybody in a timely manner. But that's going to end it for us. Have a wonderful day, everybody. This is the Degenerate Duelist, signing